The story I'm about to share isn't easy for me to tell. It carries the weight of guilt, temptation, and choices that changed my life forever. But perhaps by telling it, I can finally let go of the storm I carried within me. My name is Jessica Miller. I'm 32 years old, and this is my story. It began one ordinary Tuesday afternoon when I was staring at a pile of overdue bills on my small kitchen table. My marriage to Michael wasn't in a good place. He was a dependable man in many ways, steady, loyal, and hardworking, but our connection had withered over the years. He was distant, always consumed by work, and our conversations had become routine exchanges of necessity rather than passion. We lived more like roommates than lovers. The rent was due, and I knew we were already 2 weeks behind. My landlord, Marcus Johnson, wasn't just a landlord. He was a presence tall, confident, a man in his 40s with a charisma that seemed to draw people in. He owned several properties around town and carried himself with the ease of someone who had worked hard for everything he had. But what made Marcus unforgettable wasn't just his success. It was his ability to notice things most people overlooked. He noticed the way people felt. He noticed the silence between words. That day, when he knocked on my door, my heart nearly leapt out of my chest. Not just because of the overdue rent, but because Marcus had a way of looking at me that made me feel both nervous and alive. He stepped into the apartment, his deep voice calm but firm as he reminded me about the payment. I stumbled through excuses, Michael's late paychecks, unexpected bills, promises that it would all be sorted soon. Marcus listened, leaning against the wall with his arms folded, his eyes never leaving mine. And then he said something that made my pulse quicken. "Jessica, life's not always about money. Sometimes it's about what you really need." His words lingered in the air, heavy with unspoken meaning. In that moment, I felt a mix of emotions, fear, curiosity, and a strange sense of longing. Marcus wasn't suggesting anything outright, but the way he said it, the way his gaze seemed to reach past my defenses, made me wonder if he understood the emptiness I'd been carrying in my marriage. Over the next few weeks, Marcus found reasons to stop by more often. A routine maintenance check, a new notice about building repairs, or simply checking in to see if we were managing all right. Each time, the conversations grew longer, warmer, and more personal. He asked me about my dreams, about the things I used to love before life became so heavy. He reminded me of the person I had been years ago, before responsibility dulled the fire inside me. Michael, meanwhile, seemed more distant than ever. He came home late, exhausted, barely looking at me as he ate dinner and collapsed on the couch. I tried to talk to him about how I felt, but he brushed it off with the same response. "I'm just tired, Jess. You know I'm doing this for us." And while I believed him, I also felt invisible. The tension with Marcus built slowly, like a flame fed carefully by oxygen. One evening, he helped me carry groceries upstairs. We laughed at something silly, and for the first time in months, I felt the warmth of genuine connection. When we set the bags down, our hands brushed, and the air between us seemed to shift. I pulled away quickly, guilt flooding me, but the spark was undeniable. I told myself I was imagining it, that I was just lonely and reading too much into Marcus's kindness. But then, one night, when he stopped by to drop off paperwork, he lingered a little too long. His voice softened and he told me, "Jessica, you deserve to feel alive. Don't let anyone make you forget that." His words pierced through me like lightning. I wanted to deny how much they affected me, but deep down, I couldn't. The truth was, I was drawn to him. The way he carried himself, the way he seemed to understand my silence, it all awakened something in me that had been buried under years of routine and disappointment. And yet, every time I thought about Michael, about the vows we had exchanged, guilt twisted inside me. The night everything changed was a rainy Thursday. Michael was working late again, and I was alone in the apartment, listening to the steady rhythm of the storm outside. A knock on the door startled me. When I opened it, Marcus stood there, damp from the rain, his eyes searching mine. He said he was checking on a leak in the building, but I knew there was more to it than that. As we talked, the storm outside seemed to echo the storm inside me. The tension that had been building for weeks finally spilled over. He stepped closer, his voice low, his presence overwhelming. For a moment, the world seemed to stop. I could feel my heart racing, my breath quickening, every part of me torn between resistance and surrender. I wish I could say I turned away, that I closed the door and held on to the safe path of loyalty. But the truth is, in that moment, I let myself fall into something I had been craving for far too long: attention, warmth, and passion. The days that followed were a blur of emotions, guilt, exhilaration, confusion. I loved Michael in my own way, but what I had with Marcus felt alive, dangerous, and impossible to ignore. Every glance, every touch carried a weight that both thrilled and terrified me. But secrets don't stay hidden forever. Michael began to notice the changes, the way I smiled more often, the way I seemed distracted. And I knew, deep down, that I was standing on the edge of a choice that could shatter everything. This story isn't about justifying what I did. It's about confessing that sometimes, when the heart grows lonely, temptation finds a way to slip in through the cracks. I don't know where this path will lead me or what consequences await, but I know one thing. The night rent was due, my landlord had other plans, and those plans changed everything I thought I knew about myself.